Welcome to NEK-TV Rocks, and my guest today is Trish Sears. So nice seeing you again, because you've been such a part of Newport for so long, and now here you are in a whole different system, a whole different career path in some ways, and involved with something that's really important for all of us again. But this time we're going to talk about the hospice and doulas. What's a doula?
Well, doulas, the word goes back to like a Greek origin, which is basically, you know, a person, both birth doula and end-of-life doula is somebody who helps, you know, the transition. So helps the transition of the birth, you know, through that labor, and afterwards is there to help and guide. And then the same thing with an end-of-life doula. The end-of-life doula is, again, there to support, guide, navigate what's going on. And so we're the non-medical support. We offer no advice. We are with you. We are not the person who, we don't do the shouldas. We are, this is, you know, we ask a lot of questions. What do you want? Tell me more about that. What else? And then being able to, you know, meet people where they are. And that can be really difficult when a person is dying, because I don't know where it comes from. We could blame a lot of things, but it's, you know, people tend to put this space between them and that person, forgetting their personhood, forgetting the whole person they have been and still are. So to, you know, respect their dignity and their power to choose is meeting them where they are. And like I said, that can be really difficult for family members, because it's, and loved ones, the emotion is, you know, tends to be in overdrive. And, you know, and you think you're thinking clearly, but it's, you know, all that other stuff that gets in the way.
So you get to deal with the other stuff. That's a tough role.
It is. It's, again, a lot of listening, some reaffirming, you know, because we, you know, have doubts. It's like, I don't know, am I doing the right thing, you know? How do I do this? And so it's also being, you know, helping people, to the caregivers in particular, as well as others who are not able to be there, to understand the process of dying, and to recognize, you know, as we are getting closer to death, so not being able to or wanting to eat protein, and, you know, not being or wanting to chew. And, you know, it's, again, helping families and caregivers understand we're in labor now. This person's body knows what to do. It does not, it needs you again to meet them where they are. So that it's like, no, I don't want anything to drink. Oh no, it'll make you feel better. No, their body is shutting down, so it can't process. So if we are, and we all are, you know, wanting our loved one to have a comfortable death, a more peaceful death, then, you know, we listen and watch and pay attention to what their body is telling us. So again, and if they're starting to sleep more, if they're even agitated and don't want anybody around. And it's, again, especially for some of us, you know, when we visit our loved ones, we're not actually the caregiver that's been there. So we come in when we can, because we live all over the place, and we're like, you know, no, she always liked, you know, to eat this. And it's like, not now. However, there is a point, usually, or can be, when people are dying, that all of a sudden, right before, a day or hours before their death, they perk up.
Right.
And, and they ask for ice cream. Yay. They'll probably only take a taste of it.
It's okay.
But, that's yay. Mm-hmm. Then that's what you can help them. Again, respecting their power to choose, and and their dignity.
Yeah, we also live in such a death-denying culture because we have a model of healthcare that says we can fix anything. We can fix it. We can fix it, except when we can't fix it. And then if we can't fix it, it's probably your fault.
Right.
And that's not usually made explicit, but it's there underneath. The fight. You've got to fight. You've got to fight this. Just keep fighting.
Right.
No, that's not what this is about.
Right. So the shift, when end-of-life doulas are, part of the team, the hospice team, we all work together.
Right.
And so it's being able to, again, usually working with the family,
right,
sometimes with the person, that this time we're not going to fix anything. Right. We know we can't fix anything. Mm-hmm. What we're going to do is work to make it more comfortable and more peaceful. So, it's kind of like, oh, right. But that's really hard to deal with.
Yes.
It's really hard to process just that part, and to be working with, fellow medical folks who are, again, their job is to fix. But, hospice teams, on the other hand, their intention is care.
Right.
And comfort.
Yep.
And they're paying attention, they're asking really good questions of the person and the caregiver. What are you seeing, so we can see if there's been a change, and to say, okay, we can respect that, and now we know where we are in the continuum. The continuum is a continuum. It is not hard and fast. It's not like, and we're at week 2, only 2 weeks to go because we're on the checklist. It's like, not really. It's like, it's like everything else in life, right?
Yes, exactly.
And so, the workshop that I do, the 6-week workshop, is called, Living Fully and Dying Prepared. Because we're living fully, we have the power and the right to live fully to our exit. And so, and sometimes, just to going back to what you were saying, as far as, the American culture right now is, it's off-putting. It's like, no, I don't want to talk about death.
Right.
And it's like, well, talking about death doesn't make it happen. But it does help relieve some anxiety, certainly for you, but thinking about the people you leave behind.
Right.
So, have a friend who is just like, I don't want to see any more of your stuff. And I'm like, you don't have to. You have that choice. So take it. But she said, I don't care what happens to me, when I die. And I'm like, well, the people you leave behind
would like a note. They'd
so
really like some guidance
just
here.
Putting it out there.
Yeah.
And, it's, death is either by disease, which is gradual, or it's sudden. And so some folks, again, on the planning for advanced directives or just, your end-of-life care, it's like, I'm not that old.
Right.
I'm not sick.
Therefore, I'm living forever.
Exactly. So I don't need to think about it right now. And it's like, and there are buses, cars, trees, all kinds of things that, may...
Staircases.
Exactly. That may have other, things in mind that happen.
I knew my staircase was malevolent.
Yeah. I've cursed it now and again.
Right.
But it's like, it's, an aha moment of...
Right.
Embrace your mortality.
Yes.
And that makes every day more precious. So you are, hopefully, taking opportunity to be with friends, to smell the roses, to, take some risks, to swim in a cold lake that you haven't swam in before, go across the border into Canada because you haven't done that before, or you don't do it as often as you would like. There's so many things just in our neck of the woods that are available to us, and we should do what feels good.
Enjoy them.
Exactly. And no reason to put any limits on it. Just know life happens, death happens. And that death, it's part of living.
Yes, it is. It's a circle.
Exactly.
And sometimes that's easy to accept and sometimes it's not. There's certainly more awareness now of hospice and what that means, except up here it hasn't meant very much because there wasn't a freestanding hospice. There's been hospice care in people's homes. BNA has always participated in that. But not much else. So for those who were looking for a place to die, it's not straightforward. And the long-term care facilities had their own regulations. Sometimes they accepted hospice, and very often they did, and only on their terms, which was really weird. And other times it was perfectly okay to integrate the two. But it's challenging when you have an institution that is used to running its own show. And then you have a whole different model of the world, which is the one you have with hospice.
And it's, again, for me, throughout my life, while I have reinvented myself numerous times in different roles, the constant in all of those has always been as a communication specialist and an advocacy specialist. So, and, they're usually intertwined. So it's, becoming more aware of what's available and that there are choices.
Right.
Just to know there are choices and to, have that more of that information that, again, can release, some of the anxiety and, be able to do the end years, months, weeks, whatever, with more clarity. And I think that is what, again, end-of-life doulas can help with, is, that we're not part of the family.
Right.
We're not, part of the friends. So we are removed from those dynamics, and our focus is on what the person who is dying wants and needs, and consequently a lot of times communicating that with care to the caregivers and the family and the other loved ones. I think it's important for people to know that end-of-life doulas, well, I'll just speak for myself, we work with various forms of the family. So there's people who don't have their family here, people who don't want their family here, people who prefer their circle of friends, or people who have, for different reasons, lived a more solitary life.
Right.
So, how to help that and to help that person.
Yeah. How do you work with people who don't have family?
It's very challenging to listen and, recognize, asking different questions. Who, could you call if you needed milk? And so it's kind of, again, allowing people to have aha moments of, oh, I do have some people who I could ask to do that. Because obviously, even though you, the person, are living alone, you have your food and other care. So how is that happening? So there's a relief in that too. It's like, because again, culture, we have this like box of like, this is who my people are.
Right.
No, it's bigger than that. It's circles.
Much bigger.
Yeah. Yeah.
Though that does limit the opportunity to die at home.
It can.
Unless you can encourage friends to be a part of that. And I certainly know instances where that's happened and happened beautifully.
Well, and that's it, is, again, hopefully, by engaging an end-of-life doula, part of what we do is constantly read and reconnect and expand our network for resources, because everybody's situation is different.
Right.
So to be able to say, again, I can't advise you, but I can give you choices. Did you know that there are these different choices for, a funeral, or how to care for your body, or, where you want to be or don't want to be? And did you know that, for instance, I'm also a certified companion animal end-of-life doula. And, I've been concentrating mostly on humans lately, but I will become more available for that, in that working with, a lot of people who, again, have companion animals, that it's one of those things, like, even if you have, you just got adopted your dog or your cat or whoever, and, to have a plan. If they get sick, what do you want? Because you may, you may be away, you may be traveling, and they're in care. So, but you want to make sure that they don't suffer.
Right.
And so to be able to do that, and maybe put together like a savings account, like once a month or whatever, to contribute $10 a month to build that up, so that when that comes, because they are also mortal, and so
pet care is expensive.
It is, and so preparing for their end-of-life care, but also addressing their end-of-life, the care for them when you have your end-of-life. Having a plan.
That's a big deal.
It is.
And it's really hard to have a plan for that.
It is, and so I have, just recently, last month, we had a conversation. Once a month I have in conversation with a death specialist or end-of-life care specialist. And we had a companion animal. She does a lot more work in companion animal end-of-life care. And so she shared with us, 2 documents that were like really simple, but it was like, oh, yeah, I hadn't thought about that. And so the other thing I asked her about, because I believe you may have brought it up to me months ago, is for those of us who don't have children, or don't have children here, how do we do that? And so to put together, and so Angela is going to be helping me, because she does know of, like Circle of Care for, pets and companion animals, so that we can, develop that and, share information and, share experience, and be able to, again, normalize it, that, so again, when we die, that those we leave behind go, oh no, what am I going to do with the cat and the dog and the horses? We have a lot of horses up here.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it's, again, at first it's like, well, it can be overwhelming, but that's where, again, end-of-life doulas, what we do is curate information so you can hear it, so you can digest it. We only, work with what you need, and not like, did you know? And it's like, too much information. I can't hear you anymore.
Right.
And so it's, being able to do that. And that's why, again, the the 6-week workshop, we've gone back and forth in people like me who do the workshop across the country, is the 6 weeks seems to be, a good way to do it because there's so much processing.
Yes.
It's kind of like, oh, okay. And then you're ready for the next step. And the other part is that, when you take the 6 sessions, after we finish, I'm always available for you for coaching afterwards. So if it's real life, it's like, okay, I've got my plan, life is good, da-da-da-da-da. Oh no, it's me or a person.
Now what?
And now what? And how do I talk with my older parents? How do I work with my siblings? Vis-a-vis my older parents.
It's so much easier to work with a stranger than it is to work with your own family. That's really challenging.
It is, and that's where, I, again, through my careers, have been a facilitator. So that's something I've worked on and keep learning about all the time. But it is, again, that outside person who's able to ask different questions and write down, I heard you say this. I didn't say that. Oh, that's what I said. I think you did. So that's okay. So maybe you didn't, now that you think about it, you don't mean that. How would you say it differently? And just to get that kind of conversation so that people, the siblings in particular, start hearing each other.
Right. So. How do you tie into what's going to be our hospice here, Living Waters? So
my role with Living Waters Hospice House is, again, being passionate about planning end-of-life care. Includes, those final days and hours, and the realization that we don't have one here. The closest, really, is in Colchester. So what my role is with Living Waters Hospice House is a development advisor. So helping, again, the communicating, this is what's going on, helping with the advocacy of this is why we need it, and listening to other people. I mean, I've, used examples of, farmers who, live alone.
Right.
And the children are all over the place. Or an elderly couple who can no longer really care for themselves each other at that point. And they, respite care for caregivers is a big part of what end-of-life doulas do.
And really important.
It is. I mean, your physical and mental and emotional health needs a break.
Yes.
And sometimes, in the week it needs more than last week. And that's fine, to be able to be flexible with that. And so the having a hospice house is a place where, all of us in different, situations in our lives have a place where we can go and have that care. And a lot of, folks, don't have people immediately, like, if you are dying and your friends and family are spread out all over and they can't come and be with you and do that vigil, you have somebody, you're not going to be alone. Again, really focusing that comfort care and making it, again, full of respect and celebration for that person, to help with their comfort so they can have a peaceful exit.
So when the hospice is fully built, and there's a hole in the ground now, so it's starting, it's going to happen.
Yes.
You will still be involved with it, or if not you specifically, other doulas?
Yes, I will always be involved in it. As far as, my role as an end-of-life doula, it would be for people who would be coming to the hospice house would be pro bono for me. there are other people I work with, I have a fee, but it will always be pro bono for them to help, on the navigation, because a lot of things happen, or wait to the last minute. It's like, okay, this is what you want, this is what you don't want, this is, who your people are, just all that last minute. And then when you die, you want to go here, not there, you wanted this to happen with your body, and then, setting up, if necessary, or just being available and having connections to other people who do it in a more focused way, is working with people's grief and bereavement, because grief and bereavement has no timetable. It's, we walk with it every single day.
And the so-called stages can be in any order at any time and keep spinning too. There's not a textbook way of doing this.
Thank you for bringing that up. And
Makes me nuts.
Well, and so it's been out there for so long. It's like, oh, am I in the anger stage? Well, you can be there anytime. And you can. It's nice to recognize that those are the different. It's like, oh, okay, this is part of that, but it's not, like you said, it's not sequential.
That's
ever.
right.
Ever.
And Elizabeth Kubler-Ross was amazing. She did some fabulous things. I took some of her trainings. She was incredible. And she didn't say it was a linear process, ever.
No, she didn't. That was an unintended consequence.
Yes.
And, so it's, being available and doing that kind of work, so that it's, again, really honoring our living until we die.
Right.
Because it's going to happen to all of us.
Really?
Yes.
I thought that was just a rumor.
No. Never been proven wrong on that one.
Wow. That's important.
It is.
Yeah. We're going to do 2 shows, you and I, because this is a big subject. And 30 minutes is usually enough of anybody anyway. So we're sort of winding down on this part. But in the next show, I'd really like to talk more about what it is that all of us can do as preparation. I don't mean that I've organized everything in my life and now I can check out. But there is stuff that we need to do, and that we can get to that in the next show. But I'm also curious, this is not a free service, right?
Well, for me specifically, I am also a hospice volunteer. So if I am working with families through my volunteer work, any of that is pro bono, completely. And then, but I am available, for hire, and I do have, an hourly rate, but probably preferable, so it can be accessible to many more folks, are package rates. So for different things that we do. Yeah.
And you can be found online or in a variety of other places.
Yes.
Stopped on the street.
Yes, exactly. So Facebook, for my Facebook page is For Graceful Transitions and End of Life Doula. And that's also the same for LinkedIn and Instagram. But I use Front Porch Forum to get the word out. I also have a blog on Substack that I write and push out to, again, using different social media, but also, and I'm glad you brought that up, because if I think about my father-in-law who died, 10 years ago, I don't do, anything online. I don't have a phone. So it's, for me, is, working in partnership with, hospice care, but also, the hospital and other people and lawyers and things like that. So they can refer people to me to see if this is what they need or how I can help them.
Okay, well, thank you so much for coming in today.
My pleasure.
And we will be continuing.
Okay, thank you.